Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we consult our horoscopes for 2022 and discover that we're both Getsufumiden, Undying Moon Rising. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. I feel like recently I have been on like a little bit of a pop culture like sampler.
Oh, okay.
In the sense that
You're at a pop culture buffet.
I think so, where I've only watched half of like everything that I intend to watch.
Right.
Started Book of Boba Fett, got halfway through it,
Yeah.
fell asleep. Started the new Matrix movie, got halfway through it, went to bed.
Now, you were just traveling, so you are a bit jet lagged
I am
still.
I am a little bit jet lagged.
Right. This is not an indictment of the things that you're taking in.
No. Not
Right.
necessarily.
Not
anyways.
necessarily.
Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like for whatever reason, I just cannot get through anything.
Yeah. Well, what we're about to do, we are going to get through the entire year.
That is my
right?
commitment. Yes.
Yes. You're not going to, if Mark falls asleep halfway through the podcast, I will finish it on my own. I don't care. But what we are up to today is that we are going to go through every game that we know of that's coming out on the Switch this year. And just sort of like check in, like, how are we feeling about them? Are we confident that they're going to come out? Are we excited about them? That kind of thing.
Are we gripped with anxiety?
Oh my
that
gosh.
This game that has been pushed back multiple times will be pushed back again.
Yeah, and of course we're talking about Ollie Ollie World. But in the meantime, if you would like to get on the list to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch, all you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where we can eventually send you my copy of Sonic Forces or possibly Untitled Goose Game. That might be in the mix there. You never know when to expect that. I'm not at present willing to go into the post office, but I expect that by mid-February or March that will have passed, and I will go to the post office. I will send you my copy of these games.
Another thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or now you can leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. So the way reviews on Spotify works is that you have to meet a threshold of a certain number of reviews before your star rating is revealed to the world.
Whoa,
in
so
what I assume is a grand ceremony.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and if they don't throw us a grand ceremony, we can have our own on this show.
Absolutely.
Which I already have ideas for. But yeah, at present, we do not have enough reviews on Spotify to have that revelation ceremony.
Yeah, so leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It is super helpful in growing the audience for the show. And also, Patrick and I love reading your reviews.
Yeah, we do. We love it. We read them to each other. And also, look, I wanna throw that star revelation ceremony. Because it feels like you and I have earned it.
It would be, we would do it right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Mark, let's get into it. Let's discuss Nintendo's 2022 release calendar. And calendar might be overstating it because as far as I can tell, outside of some indie title dates, we really only have 2 concrete dates that games are supposed to come out. And so let's just get those 2 out of the way. January 28th, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and March 4th is Triangle Strategy, the Square Enix Tactics RPG thing. Those are the only 2 that we know like actual dates for.
That's wild. It feels like, and we will go through the list, we know a lot of games that are coming to
Yes.
Switch in 2022.
Yes.
But the dates are all a mystery. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, I think we maybe have a date for Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp.
So we
but
saw
not
it-
officially announced.
That's right. That's right.
Not
that's right.
officially announced.
It had a date in the Switch eShop at one point. That date is now gone.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Okay,
I
got
don't
it.
know what that means.
Got it.
But so let's start there, and let's start at the beginning of the year with a Pokemon game. Mark, you and I are weird with Pokemon. Sometimes we are moderately excited about them, and sometimes we're like, we don't care at all, which was totally how we were with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Completely.
A remake of a generation we didn't play or weren't even really tuned into Pokemon at the time. Where are you right now with Pokemon Legends Arceus? Should we talk a little bit about what the game looks like it is?
Yeah.
So it looks like it's a little bit more of an open world taking place in like Pokemon's past. But I think a lot of the sort of fan expectation that it is like a Breath of the Wild like big open world where you're like freely roaming around everything has been sort of dampened a little bit.
That's right. I think the understanding now is that it's more like the Monster Hunter games that isn't Monster Hunter World, where you load into a large area,
Right.
but it is not like one enormous like interconnected world that with no loading screens or anything like that.
I gotta say, I'm still a little bit confused about what the like combat in the game is, or what like your relationship is to the Pokemon. I know when they revealed it, they mentioned that like the trainer that you play can be attacked like directly by
'cause
Pokemon.
it's like far in the past,
Way in the past,
So humans don't have the relationships with Pokemon that we have nowadays, right?
Right.
It's like ancient like Pokemon wolves
Yes, that's
before
right.
they've been domesticated to dogs.
Right.
And so so I think it's like you're like maybe one of the first trainers to start
Maybe
domesticating Pokemon.
building one of the first Pokedexes or whatever. So yeah, it seems like there is the potential for like a setting that can act as enough of a story to like distract us from the fact that it's a Pokemon game and there isn't much of a story, which has me a little bit interested. I don't know, where are you on this game?
Yeah, I feel like the timing of it is super interesting to me, super weird, honestly. Like with Pearl and Diamond, Brilliant Pearl, Shining Diamond.
Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. Is that what you said?
That's not what I said.
Okay.
But I accept that as fact.
Diamonds are brilliant and pearls shine. You can use the mnemonic that diamonds are brilliant.
And Pearl Shine.
And Pearl Shine.
I don't think I'll ever forget that now. But that just came out in November. The timing of this is so interesting to me that just a few months later, we're getting a new Pokemon game. Yes, a different type of Pokemon game, but a Pokemon game nonetheless.
This is the one being developed by Game Freak, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. I have other games that I am more interested in playing or finishing playing. Like I still need to beat Skyward Sword. I still want to actually play Dragon Quest XI as Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
I'm playing Paper Mario and really loving that. I'm still checking in on Animal Crossing and have Happy Home Paradise. So while I am interested in this game, I don't think I have any intention of getting it like at launch.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a wait and see what the response is, but I'm also not really confident that I'm going to be able to trust any review of this game.
Right.
Because I think there are going to be people who are disappointed in it for dumb reasons, and I think there are going to be people who are excited to play it also for dumb reasons. So it does feel a little bit like Lost in the Wilderness here. I would like to know what our listenership thinks of Pokemon Legends Arceus, where you are before launch, and when it does come out, your experiences then.
Yeah, because I'm really interested for Pokemon fans.
Yeah.
How excited are you for this? And for people like Patrick and I who dabble but like aren't real big Pokeheads,
Which is what they're called.
Where's your interest?
Yeah. Where's your interest?
Are we outliers? Basically, is what I'm looking for.
I mean, I think we are, but also the Pokemon.
Us?
Yeah,
That just feels so wrong.
The Pokemon community likes to play a thing that it can get mad about too. Like, I think there will be a lot of hate plays of this game, just as there were a lot of hate plays of Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Like I think the audience is so committed to it that like it sort of doesn't matter whether they're excited for it specifically or not, right?
I feel like that's true of the loudest voices. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, to that point, the loudest voices are the ones that like I kind of roll my eyes at about like the remake of Diamond and Pearl or like Sword and Shield and that sort of stuff. And obviously those games like go on to be successful if nothing else. I just don't know if Legends Arceus being its own thing ends up like transcending that or being like I just don't know. This one is like all question marks for me. Even though we've seen a bunch of it and it comes out in like 3 weeks, it's almost the biggest question mark on this list of games.
Well, I feel like that's kind of a good segue to Triangle Strategy, which comes out in March, because we both liked our time with Octopath Traveler.
Yes.
Neither of us beat it, and I kind of got bored with it and was like, I've had my experience, I enjoyed my experience, but there's no way I'm putting more time into this game. And so Triangle Strategy, I'm kind of like approaching with trepidation.
Yeah.
Because I don't love tactical RPGs. And
well, then I've got bad news for you about this year, because Triangle Strategy looks like it's one of 5 tactical strategy games coming out on the Switch this year.
Yeah.
5. So you're a little nervous about the gameplay of it.
I'm not even really that nervous about the gameplay of it. It's like I am confident that I will end up buying Triangle Strategy and playing at least some of it. For me, it's more like I liked Octopath Traveler, but I didn't beat Octopath Traveler.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, and you and I have talked about this many times, is that, of course, it is impossible to beat all of Octopath Traveler. No one has done it, and no one ever will. But for me, I love the aesthetic of these games, right? The 2D, 3D, the HD 2D, whatever they call it, is so beautiful, and I just want to spend time with works using that style. And Octopath Traveler is, in everything but name, a saga game, right? It has the same sort of format of those games where there are these disparate characters and you have to like advance their stories one chapter at a time. And of course it gets tedious because you've got 8 characters that you're juggling. Triangle Strategy, while using the same aesthetic, is not a saga game. It looks like it's a Final Fantasy Tactics game, which like bumps it up so many levels for me from Octopath. So like, while the comparison between them seems obvious, I think Triangle Strategy is going to just be a more interesting, more fun game.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because I do think I'm letting the similar aesthetic style like cloud a lot of my feelings about Triangle Strategy. But you're right, they're trying to be very different types of games.
Yeah, totally.
You know, honestly, the one of those 2D HD games that I'm most excited about, although I can't recall if it was announced for North America or just Japan, but is the Dragon Quest III remake in 2D HD.
Yes.
That we saw in the Dragon Quest showcase.
I forgot about that.
Last
year? Last year.
Yeah.
Because it's 2022 now, right? That was last year for sure. I don't have that on our list of games. I don't remember if it.
I don't know that it has. It has a release date. I again do not remember if it's announced for North America or
I
not.
think it was, because I was burned so bad by the fact that Dragon Quest X offline edition is not coming to North America. But there was a brief salve of the Dragon Quest III. HD remake was in fact going to come to North America.
But yeah, it's so funny. You reminding me that Triangle Strategy is more like a Final Fantasy Tactics game. That does make me much more interested, like looking forward to Triangle Strategy more.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so we're set on those two. The next sort of category that we have here, we have a season of the year that 3 games are announced for. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, Kirby the Forgotten Land, and Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, all announced for spring 2022.
I'm telling you right now, I refuse to believe the Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is released in spring 2022. I'm telling myself it's never going to come out because I've been burned too many times to
Yeah.
love again.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Should we even throw it out of this conversation? Because like at this point, we've talked about it as something that's like coming up, and like we don't know if
Yep.
it's ever going to come out, and it looks cool and whatever.
We're excited for it.
We're excited when it comes out.
I think we're professionals and we can set our personal feelings aside
Okay.
to discuss it in an academic matter. Because I can't be mad at it
No,
because I want it.
I want it so bad.
It's a reflection of myself that I can't talk about it. You know what I mean?
Right. You hate and love Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, just as you love and hate yourself, like Gollum. Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that on this list?
no, it is not. Jeez. Okay. And that comes out real soon, right?
Does it? I honestly.
I think it comes. I mean, we can talk about that after we go through these three games. But so Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is a game that ties all 9 movies together, and you can approach them in whatever order you want. And it seems like it's got some very nice like open world elements, and unlike the other Lego games, is less sort of like level based and more like objective based within those worlds.
Yeah, it seems super ambitious on so many different levels. Like you're saying, it changes the formula of what we expect from the like licensed Lego games.
Yeah.
Seems like it's very much more like open to exploration. You can do any of the like chapters, like any of the films in any order. It has remember when they were doing press for this back in early 2020 when it was originally announced for release, or when it was gearing up for release.
Yeah.
There was discussions of like hundreds of characters. Yaddle is
Yaddle
playable.
is in there. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a game that, man, we
saw at E3 2019
and was excited for it then. I
Mhm.
continued to be excited for it. Whenever this game comes out, I will be purchasing it. But I would love if it actually happens to be spring 2022. We have not heard anything
Right.
for a very long time. Like they were really like gearing up for release and then went dark pretty much after that.
Yeah.
And
Which understandable, because like when was that they were like, you know what, it's not coming out this year? Was
I
that
really
like
think
October
it was like
or something?
So my memory is that they were doing those interviews where they were talking about like 150 playable characters or whatever. Can't remember what the number was. It may not be 150, but it was a lot. It was like, whoa, that's a lot. My memory
Well,
is
let's count them up. Han Solo.
My
Luke
memory is
Skywalker.
that was like April, May-ish. I thought it was like
Yaddle.
early 2022.
Yeah, sure.
Or, sorry, early 2020.
Right, like early 2021.
No, early 2020 that they
oh
were.
my God, you're right.
Yeah, that they were doing the like, this is getting ready to come out. And then we got the delay. And after, that delay announcement, we've had like delay announcements after that. But other than that, they haven't really talked about the game, which makes sense because like, why would you do all that press?
Right,
When
you reach a point where it's like, just stop talking about it.
And we are at
We're
that
there.
point.
We're
Yep.
there. So maybe we should stop talking about it.
Fair.
All right. Did you get a release date on Gollum?
It just says from the tiny bit of research I did just now, it's just 2022.
Okay.
So I don't think we have it's not looming over us.
Okay. All right. And it's not imminently arriving.
Yes.
But these other two games that are imminently arriving, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, Kirby the Forgotten Land. Let's start with Advance Wars because that feels like the less exciting of the two releases. To me, I guess I don't know. How do you feel about Advance Wars?
Yeah, I like Advance Wars. This feels like a good. We've talked on the show in the past about how I kind of miss those Nintendo handheld franchises that existed in a way where they didn't need the fanciest graphics. They didn't need to be like a $60 experience necessarily.
Right.
And Advance Wars,
Which
really
will be $59.99.
right, but like really fits that mold. And so I like having those handheld console experiences, even if yes, you can play it on the TV. So I am looking forward to Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. This feels like one that I'm going to buy and not play for a very long time, but then when I do play it, I'll like it a lot.
Yes.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also hoping that it is like a fun, like I because they've done a lot to change like the graphics of it and sort of like update it for modern players. I hope to see more of what like those gameplay features are, because for as much as I like tactics games, I'm not good at Advance Wars, not in a way that I feel like I'm pretty good at Fire Emblem. Like when I was playing the first Advance Wars, like maybe a year or two ago on the Game Boy Advance, there were levels like pretty early on that I had to restart like 5 or 6 times and like didn't understand what I was doing wrong. And for whatever reason, the type of tactics games that Advance Wars is, and by extension that other what was that game called that was like Advance Wars, but it was an indie game?
I can't remember, but I
can't
know what
remember it
you're
either.
talking about.
That I couldn't wrap my head around that one either. Like I just need my tactics games to be Final Fantasy Tactics-y or Fire Emblem-y, and I hope that this, even though if it's just 1 and 2, like I kind of know what these games are already, and I know I'm not good at them.
But I do wonder if there will be quality of life improvements, like even difficulty settings or something like that.
Yeah,
or like a
yeah.
rewind feature, like some of the stuff that I am more familiar with because it existed in Three Houses, where like
Sure.
you can go back a couple of turns, like that sort of thing.
Or even in the re-release of the Famicom Fire Emblem from the end of 2020, that has a rewind feature in it as well.
Also, you
Or
mentioned
save states or
you
something.
mentioned the updated graphics, and I wonder what this game will look like the next time we see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's been a little bit since we've been updated on what it looks like.
So I'm planning on picking it up, but
Yeah, same.
doing like a very like casual playthrough.
And like a long, luxurious, I come
Mhm.
back to it.
Like
over the
how I'm
course of
doing
the
like Skyward Sword.
year. Totally,
Where, like,
yeah.
loving my experience, but it's dragging out.
Dragging it out. Next, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. The first banger of the year?
What is your experience with 3D Kirby? Because I have very
Zero.
limited experience
Zero.
with 3D Kirby.
I have zero experience with 3D
I don't
Kirby.
really know what to expect from this.
No, me neither. Well, and like neither of us are big Kirby guys necessarily. We both have Kirby games in our past that we have enjoyed, or that even were like very meaningful to us.
Yeah, but there are way more Kirby games that I've never even played
Yeah.
than Kirby games that fall into that category.
Yeah. But just like the aesthetic of this game, seeing Kirby running around like a ruined city that has been overtaken by the forces of nature, seems cool. And if Nintendo wants to give me like a 3D platforming adventure, I almost don't care what character they put in there, right? Like that's a brand and a style of game that I trust together. If it means it's also a Kirby game, then like fine.
I don't think I have that much.
You don't have
like,
that much faith?
Well, yeah, not in general, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. It is not my most anticipated game this year
Sure.
by
sure.
a long shot.
Well, and it is not my most anticipated game either. It seems like that we've already kind of discounted Lego Star Wars is not actually going to come out in this window. And just of the 4 other games that we have like solid dates or a date window for, Kirby and the Forgotten Land feels like the biggest like event release for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, the biggest opportunity for something that I've never experienced before.
Yes. Yeah, like something basically new from Nintendo. All right, Mark, would you like to move on to the next category in our list here is 2022, no narrower window than 2022. So we've got that, and then we also have indie games for the year, and maybe we'll only like glance through the indie games. But let's just go through some of these games that we have in 2022 with no narrow window. These are sorted alphabetically, starting with Bayonetta 3.
I just don't care. I just don't care. The most recent trailer when Bayonetta 3 was re-announced or re-revealed, I guess, or shown off at all in the
It's the
most
first time we
recent
saw
Direct.
anything that was like gameplay or cinematic or anything.
I thought it was kind of fun that it had, like big mechs,
Mm-hmm.
like kaiju
And
type
kaiju, yeah.
monsters.
Mhm.
But my experience with Bayonetta 2, when Bayonetta 1 and Bayonetta 2 were released on Switch, you and I each played one game. My memory is that I played the second game.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think I played the second game and you played the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I just don't care about Bayonetta.
Yeah. I am interested in this one more than I was the first two Bayonetta games, just because it feels like this one has something to prove in the way the other ones didn't, and maybe just refining a game like Bayonetta, which is so like character based action, is something that can stand to be refined forever. So by the time they get to the third entry, like I'm hoping they figured it out and it is fun and sticky in a way that appeals to me. But I mean, yes.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying is
Maybe
like,
I won't.
No. I mean, I hope for you that is your experience. But I feel like you're talking about like, oh, like they will figure it out by the third one. But
a lot of the fans would say they've already figured it out.
Right. I think like the series is beloved by its fans because it feels like it already has that like formula for success.
Right. They already walked into the Oracle's house, saw the plaque that said "Know thyself" in Latin, and it already knows itself. I'm talking about the Matrix here. Mark only made it halfway through the new one. Okay, so not super excited about Bayonetta 3. Next up on our list for 2022, Chocobo GP.
I mean, game of the year? Game of the decade?
I can't help it. I know. I'm excited about this game. I want a Final Fantasy themed kart racer, which is what this is. I don't know why it would be bad. It probably will be.
I know. Why would it be? That is such a good point. Why would Chocobo GP be bad?
Why would it be bad?
Doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna make a Chocobo GP game, you're clearly going into it with the intention of it being the best kart racer of all time.
It doesn't even need to be the best kart racer of all time. It can be a decent kart racer, and then it's gonna be pretty good.
I'm embarrassing excited for Chocobo GP.
Yeah, me too. And every time we get a peek at like a new racer or a new track, I'm like, that's from this Final Fantasy game. That's this, whatever. I'm excited about it. I want to see all of the secrets that are buried in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to race around. I want to level up my spells while I, ride around in a Gilgamesh, whatever. I want to have fun with this game, Mark.
Yeah, I can't wait. I genuinely cannot wait for Chocobo GP.
Next up, Getsu Fumaden Undying Moon. Getsu Fumaden is a game that goes back to the original Famicom. We didn't get them here, right? But
we didn't. I cannot remember.
Right.
We should refer back to ourselves when this was revealed at like a direct mini or whenever it was revealed at, where we did a little bit of research on it. Right. I have forgotten that research. Here's what I think.
Ooh, yeah.
So what I think is that this was the original game, the one that this is based on, was released in Japan only, but that in North America we got like the sequel to it under a different name. That is my vague memory.
Why do I feel like it has a connection to the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game?
Yes.
On the NES.
Yeah, that tastes right.
These are all half memories, and we shouldn't explore them too much. I'm always curious because this is a Konami game.
Yes, it's one of like the Konami collaborations with like an indie developer, basically.
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm always interested to see how these perform, both in terms of like how people respond to them and just if they are making money. Because Konami is in such a weird place game development wise. And I think a healthy Konami is good for the games industry, but maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Well, Yep.
Moving on. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I'm excited about this one. This is a sequel to the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which came out the launch year of the Switch. A turn-based tactics RPG featuring Mario and the Rabbids from the Rayman games. I really liked the first one, and I'm very excited for the second.
Yeah, this is another one where I didn't beat the first one. I kind of like hit a wall where there's a battle, and I was just like, I can't beat this. I've tried a number of times. Right. I'm just gonna like move on with my life. But I enjoyed what I played so much that I am very excited for this one. It's two things that should not work at all, but is so like over the top and ridiculous, but also earnest that it really works.
Yeah, I'm also very interested to see what surprises the game hasn't shown us yet. One of the things that was exciting about the reveal was we saw Rabid Rosalina, which is great. She's like bored and like sleepy
So
and
put
stuff.
upon, yeah.
And the more stuff like that they have in the game, like the better it's going to be.
Yep.
The Rabid versions of the Mario characters are an absolute delight. I love them all, and I want to see them all in every game that I play from here until the end of time. So very excited about Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. That is the third tactics game on the list.
And not the last.
No, here comes the fourth, Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is coming out the second half of 2022. This is Marvel. It's weirdo, like dark Marvel characters, like Punisher and Doctor Strange, and like Wolverine's in there, Ghost Rider. And it's a, tactics-based game. So this one was delayed out of 2021. I don't know, where are you on like hype level for this?
This is another one that I'm just planning to kind of like let
Pass you
pass
by.
by. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am a little worried about strategy tactics overload this year. And I think I will probably be overloaded by the time we reach the second half of 2022. So, but I mean, I like the characters. I like the concept. Yeah.
It has a good pedigree, right? Like it's developed by the people who developed the most recent XCOM games.
Yeah, that's right. Which, yeah.
Are you
seems like it should be
familiar
right.
with like Midnight Suns? I'm assuming that was like a comic like run.
Yeah,
Or like a series
It's
or
like an
something?
80s comic run. I've never read it, but I like the characters involved in it. And especially characters like Ghost Rider, and like that ilk are not really being featured in other non-comics Marvel stuff at the moment. So just that sort of novelty would be fun to mess around with. I feel like we're so inundated with Marvel stuff that like any different flavor of it, which is so dumb. Like it can just do something that's not Marvel related to experience that. But yeah, there's some like kind of novelty there that has me excited. Mark, are you ready for the fifth tactics game?
Yeah, to me the strangest
Yeah.
one on this list, Metal Slug Tactics.
Yeah, Metal Slug, known to be like a run and gun arcade shooter, returning as a tactics game this year. Strange. I don't really know what to make of it. I like the aesthetic of it. They do a really nice job of recreating the like 32-bit pixel art in sort of like an isometric setting. But we don't know how the game plays or anything like that. I think with a lot of these tactics games, it just ends up coming down to like balance, right? And like how good they are at being tactics games. Remember, I guess 2 years ago now, when or maybe it was just last year, who remembers, the Dark Crystal tactics game came out.
Oh, that's right.
And like it looked cool and all of that, but and has a cool license in the Dark Crystal. But that like the game itself was just like a little bit unbalanced and like tough to play, so like it kind of came and went and no one made any kind of like fuss over it.
Which I feel like was the series itself, that like rebooted
Totally.
Netflix series.
Yeah.
I was trying to Google which game
Yeah.
was associated with the phrase alien gut bucket.
No, that was Contra Hardcore.
That was Contra Hardcore.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else remembers in the world, even the person who wrote it
Right.
remembers that line or that game from like an E3 reveal. But I do, Patrick, I do want you to know, I want you to share this with me and listeners, that when I Googled alien gut bucket, you'll be happy to know that the main results are images it's a like a xenomorph head with like a handle on it.
Well,
So
you
like
got-
it's like a plastic.
Oh, it is an alien. It's like a Halloween, like a trick or treat bucket.
Yeah,
I like that.
I
Mark, can
am
you order us
delighted.
some of those?
Yeah, I'm delighted for our Spotify star reveal party.
Yes, absolutely. So Metal Slug Tactics, I feel like goes in the pile of like too many tactics games for the year. Still kind of cool and something that I may want to like loop back around to in a Tactics Light year if we ever have one of those. Next up, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. This is DLC and not its own game, but
This one I think we have a summer.
Oh,
they
do we?
announced
Okay.
it as like a summer window.
Yeah, that sounds right. Neither of us were playing.
I was like pointing to my head like I was the Scarecrow in the
Yeah,
Wizard of
that's right.
Oz while I was doing that. By the way,
if I only had a brain. Monster Hunter Rise.
I didn't play Monster Hunter Rise, so I do not anticipate that I will be picking up Sunbreak.
Yeah, same. And I don't anticipate that I'll end up getting into Monster Hunter Rise.
So it came out last summer, and I intended to play it. Still kind of intend to play it someday, but Monster Hunter Stories 2.
Oh, right.
That does have appeal to me.
Yeah. Why did you not pick it up?
Who knows? Yeah.
Why do we do anything?
I can't remember. I genuinely can't remember. Oh, I was moving right around that time.
Oh, sure.
And it just started a new job.
Right.
Yeah.
And so getting into like an 80-hour RPG, not really.
Yeah, it
something
wasn't
that
on my
you-
list.
Not on your list.
Yeah.
Splatoon 3 is next on this list. Doesn't matter when it comes out. This is a day one purchase for me.
So excited.
Splatoon is so much fun. I intend to get my butt kicked just up and down the court, just over and over again. But I'm excited about this. I like having the reason to get into doing like turf war or whatever. If there's a new kind of salmon run, and the single player campaigns are always fun. I'm stoked for this.
I know. I'm so excited for the return of Splatfests.
Yes,
Because, with Splatoon 2, I bought it when it came out, put a lot of hours into it, and then would put it away. But every time there's a Splatfest, what a great reason to go back into it.
Right.
And so excited for that whole cycle again.
Yeah. Well, and just like that cycle, like the beginning of that cycle is so fun, right? When we start playing it, we start like unlocking new weapons and being like, oh, have you gotten this thing yet? Figuring out what people's loadouts are. All of that is just so much fun.
I like the aesthetic of Splatoon.
Yes.
I like the lore of the universe.
The music.
I'm so excited for the new music.
Yeah.
The Splatoon music is so good.
Yeah. It's wonderful. What are your hopes for like the single player or like the?
So I didn't complete the single player in Splatoon 2. And so I didn't play the DLC, like the Octo
expansion. Yeah.
So I don't have any like real hopes and dreams for the single player because it hasn't been a core part of my like Splatoon experience.
Yeah, okay. I do make a point of playing through all of the single player stuff. I didn't finish the Octo expansion because it got too difficult for me. But I'm excited to see whatever they can trot out here. If they end up doing anything that's a little bit more like based in the reality of the world, one of the things that the campaigns for both the games, the first two games do, is like they take you into these weird like abstract spaces, which are fun. But I feel like if there could be something that I actually feel like I'm in their world, would be really fun to like mess around in.
I feel like with the teases that they've given us and the information that they've given us about like the return of mammals into the universe and
it's like you and me,
that sort of stuff, that has me. I mean, I know that these games are not like heavily story based,
right?
But all of that,
lore.
like
There's
all of
lore.
that lore stuff,
Yeah.
I really enjoy.
Very exciting, but probably the most exciting thing that's on this list, and I have it on the 2022 portion here, even though it is not currently listed on the Switch eShop. We've been told Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. We don't know what its name is, but we have been told that it's coming out 2022.
Yeah, the last word is that it's coming out in 2022. I mean, really, I think, Patrick, above all, the question on Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel is, do you actually believe it'll release in 2022?
Tough to say.
Really
tough to say. Because they've been teasing us with it for a while, right? When was the first trailer for? Was that 2019? This episode is a lot of you and me half remembering things. It must have been 2019 because there was no E3 2020.
Right. And 2018 seems too early.
Yeah. but it could have been. It could have been 2018. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, this is one where it's like, yeah, whenever it comes out, just like give it to me. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play all of it.
Yeah.
Are you at all nervous about this game?
I am not nervous. I am hopeful, if that makes sense. Like I loved Breath of the Wild so much. Like that is one of my favorite all-time playing experiences, because even though I was playing it by myself, it was so communal, because everybody was kind of discovering the secrets at the same time.
Yeah.
And being able, like, talking to you, going online, talking to friends, and being seen, like, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know if you did this thing. Like, that was so magical, and that's what, like, made that game, like, the sense of exploration. Once I unlocked the entire, like, map of Hyrule, the game lost. I enjoyed all of it, but it lost, like, its core appeal, like its core hook to me. And it seems like, from what we've seen, which is very little, that this game takes place in Hyrule, that we know from Breath of the Wild,
but it's
adds
messed
this,
up
like,
somehow.
Adds this new dimension, adds, like, the sky that you can explore and all that kind of stuff. So what I am hopeful for is that it will somehow be able to recapture that sense of exploration and discovery that the first game did so well.
Can I express a concern at this point about Breath of the Wild 2? There was a period of time where I was of the belief that the new Breath of the Wild game would only be running on like new Switch hardware. And this is part of, when we were hearing rumors about pro versions of the Switch, which obviously got revised down to the OLED version, but also kind of around rumors of Nintendo telling developers to be ready to develop things that could be exported to 4K. Do you think there is a world where this game was being developed for the new version of Switch hardware, and they have now had to either like spec it back down to run on existing Switch hardware? Because like we're not going to get new hardware this year,
right? Or we're not going to get like better hardware, if that makes sense. We might get a new like form factor or something,
right? Possibly, but we're not going to get new innards of Switch this year. But yeah, is that?
So I don't think so.
Okay.
And the reason why it doesn't concern me is because I would expect that even if it was released on a like more powerful Switch, that it would also run on like, because it was announced, I guess it, now that I am about to say that it was announced for the Switch, I don't actually know that that's true. It was announced for that it existed. But I think my expectation,
the original Breath of the Wild was announced for Wii U,
right? And so my expectation is that when this game comes out, even if it was with new hardware, that it would run on both.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you finished Skyward Sword. I'm working my way through it. Really am enjoying Skyward Sword a lot. I feel like after the most recent trailer or teaser that we got for Breath of the Wild, sequel to Breath of the Wild, that there was a lot of speculation about like, oh, is this incorporating like ideas from Skyward Sword, with like you being in the sky more often, and I guess that's where it ends, or when he's like Link is falling. I guess it kind of looks like when Link is falling in Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I mean, Link doesn't really free fall through the air like that in any other game, right? Like it's really just Skyward Sword, and in what we've seen of Breath of the Wild too.
Does that? I mean, I think we were both excited for sequel to Breath of the Wild, no matter what. But does having just finished Skyward Sword, and I think enjoying Skyward Sword, does that make you? Does the potential for those two things to kind of be like cross-pollinating and pique your interest?
Yeah, well, and like because it's a Zelda game, I don't expect there to be like direct, concrete story connections between the games. But if it is just like kind of taking the cues of Skyward Sword, I can see where that would be fun. There are also like little bits in the trailers that we've seen that sort of imply like a backwards time motion where like you're able to there's like a spiky ball rolling down and Link is able to reverse time and have it go the other way. Even the move where he like sort of turns into a drop and like goes up through a platform above him seems like a reverse fall. just like that kind of ties into the like gates of time, or I forget exactly what they're called. There is some gate that connects to the distant past in Skyward Sword. So like I wonder if all of these ideas, all of these Skyward Swordy ideas, are at play without it being like directly connected to it.
That's a really good point, because that was, I mean, they do that so much in the original Breath of the Wild, where it's like, oh, here's a nod to this Zelda game.
Here's Lon Lon Ranch.
Yeah, here like some ideas incorporated into it, but right, we shouldn't expect there to be like really explicit, like, and here is Fee.
Right. Right. But there is something weird going on with Link, right? Like he's got this, or the player character, that he's got some kind of weird arm thing going on, and his hair is all shaggy.
Right. It's kind of like, I feel like his tunic, for when I saw it, my first thought was more like Greek toga type thing.
Yeah. So there's something going on there that is either not Link or it is, but you can't be playing as not Link. There's something going on there, or they're hiding something from us.
Yeah. And what they're hiding is that they're ripping off that Ubisoft game.
Yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising.
That's right.
I got there. Okay, obviously we're excited about the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Oh, let's go back to it. Do you think it comes out this year?
I remain ever hopeful. But no, I don't think it does. I think it's delayed till 2023.
I think it does come out this year. We have questions coming up about like some other games that like aren't on the calendar, and I think all of those games will not come out this year. But I do think we have waited enough now. Enough time has passed. Nintendo will need a big like everyone play this game kind of game, and Breath of the Wild 2 will be that.
Well, should we jump down to those titles that don't have?
Let's first just go through and see if there are any of these indie games. I made a list of indie games. We don't have to go through all of them, but if there are any on here that you, Mark, are excited about, I can shout out a couple that I'm interested in. Card Shark, which is that game that we were trying to remember the name of the other day, where you are like a Frenchman who cheats at cards and like live a life of like high crime and gambling. I'm excited for that whenever it comes out. Sea of Stars, which is due out in holiday of 2022, is the RPG in the world of that game.
The Messenger.
The Messenger. I'm very excited about that. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is done in the style of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game.
This is another one that was delayed from 2021, right?
Yeah, that's right. So those are sort of like the highlights of the indie games for me.
Yeah, Sports Story, which I think is not like, they haven't even whispered 2022. We haven't heard anything about it in a very long time.
That's me extrapolating, just like Hollow Knight Silk Song is on here. We have not heard anything about that for a long time, but maybe this year is the year.
Locomotive, which we saw at the most recent Indie World Showcase, seems fun. And Bear and Breakfast also is something that looks really cute.
You're a bear who runs a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout is also going to come out at some point this year. I liked Fall Guys on when it was out on PlayStation, and everyone should check it out when it comes to Switch. Anything else on that list, or should we move into the like, hey, where are these games?
Yeah, let's move into the where are these games, and also maybe when we're doing these where are these games, we can speculate on things that have not been announced at all that could potentially happen in 2022.
Well, so I have 4 different games listed here for where are these things, and I'm going to rattle them all off, and then we can approach them in whatever order you like, Mark. Metroid Prime, either a remake of the original or the trilogy. Metroid Prime 4, whatever Donkey Kong game the EAD Tokyo is working on, and a new Fire Emblem game, which was supposedly done in like summer of this year. Mark, which of these would you like to talk about?
Well, can I add to this list the whispers of like a Xenoblade game?
Yeah.
That is...
Yeah, do it. Add it up.
Like Xenoblade 3 or whatever it's going to be,
mm-hmm.
that is supposed to be... There were rumors before the Game Awards that, it is...
Yeah, that's right.
Finished or close to being finished or close to being announced. But yeah, Xenoblade 3 from Monolith Soft, supposedly out there looming.
I love that anytime there is rampant speculation and like leaks or whatever around a Nintendo presentation, that anything that doesn't appear in that presentation is written off as like fake forever.
It's immediately dead.
It's immediately dead, which is why like we're doing whatever we can to revive the rumors of this Donkey Kong game, of a new Fire Emblem game, and now of a new Xenoblade Chronicles. But what do you think is the likelihood of any of these games either being revealed in more depth or actually coming out this year?
Well, let's talk about Metroid Prime of it all.
Yeah, okay.
Let's talk about Metroid Prime 4 first, because that one has concretely been announced and
canceled.
Rebooted.
And, yes.
The reboot was announced in January of 2019. And we haven't heard anything since, haven't seen anything since. We know that Retro is still working on it by fact that nobody's announced that it's been canceled.
Right.
So, do you think that this is the year for Metroid Prime 4?
I don't.
I don't either. I still think it's too early.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there is another easy year-long marketing beat behind just a Metroid Prime remake, or whatever that is.
Right, because that is like the most recent rumor around Metroid Prime that popped up late summer, early fall last year.
Yeah, I think it was around the September Direct.
That, Retro had originally been working on a remake of Metroid, the original Metroid Prime, and that the plan was that for it to be like a remake of the trilogy over time, right? They weren't going to like do it all at once. And then Nintendo was really impressed with that work. So when Metroid Prime 4 was kind of falling apart, they moved Metroid Prime 4 over back to Retro.
Which is so funny because they made the games in the first place.
They made the games in the first place.
They had to earn it again for some reason.
But so where we stand is that Metroid Prime Remake is still coming, allegedly.
Right.
But Metroid Prime 4 would follow after that. Do you think Metroid Dread is probably the best-selling Metroid game possibly ever, definitely since Super Metroid?
Yeah.
So do you think that it is a franchise that can sustain like an annual release? Do you think we could have Metroid Dread last year, we could have Prime Remake this year, and we could have Metroid Prime 4 in 2023? Do you think that that's like a cadence that Metroid can handle?
Prime and Fusion came out in the same year. Like
20 years ago.
Yes.
Or, like,
yes.
It was a
yeah, you're
different
right.
time.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But that was also coming off a long Metroid drought, right? Like, I don't know if it could sustain it forever, but I think Metroid Prime Remake and Metroid Prime 4 coming on the 2 like years after Metroid Dread, that it can sustain that. And then maybe we don't see it again for another 20 years. But like,
do you think the remake is real? Do you think that like part of the rumor is real?
I don't know.
I don't know either. It makes
a
certain amount of sense.
It does. The and just the pervasiveness of the Metroid Prime trilogy being out there and effectively ready to go at like the flip of a switch, which was like a pervasive rumor for a long time, being reported from lots of different directions, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Like Jeff Grubb says it and then everyone is like, this is true.
Well, and supposedly, right, like this,
not to call out Jeff Grubb specifically.
right, totally. But like this remake rumor that it is, that's kind of now like, oh, what people were hearing about, the trilogy,
yes,
being re-released for Switch was actually this remake. I don't really know what to make of any of it.
It sounds like no one knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You and I included.
That doesn't sound like us.
That's not right.
So I think where we're coming down is Metroid Prime 4, not this year. If the remake does exist, could happen this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think if nothing else, feeding the Metroid fan base this year makes like narrative sense to me, right?
Yeah.
That they would continue to like keep that fire going, because Metroid Dread made an impact among the audience. It sold well, and was in Game of the Year like conversations. It didn't really, I don't think, claim that anywhere, but
An honor to be nominated.
An honor to be nominated and won like Best Action Adventure Game at the Game Awards or something like that.
I'm adding another game to this Where Is This Stuff list,
Mhm.
and that's Zelda, the Zelda HD games that were released on Wii U,
Yes.
on Switch. But let's talk about Donkey Kong.
Let's talk about this Donkey Kong game. Another rumor from around the time of Nintendo's E3 presentation was that there was like a main like Tokyo development office. Donkey Kong, not Donkey Kong Country, just in name, but using like those characters. A game like that existing. What do you think, Mark? Does it exist?
I want to believe it.
I wanna believe it so bad, too.
much. Yeah. So this one, I don't even know what to think. I don't even. Do you remember? Was it at E3 when they announced like the Super Monkey Ball collection?
Yes.
And at a moment, I
Yes.
think everybody on the internet
Yeah.
was anticipating a Donkey Kong game. I really want this to be true. I think there's no way that Donkey Kong is gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think we are due.
He's probably
for
going to have a
Donkey
spin-off
Kong.
movie in a couple years.
Exactly. I just feel like we are so due for like a Donkey Kong
Yeah.
game.
Well, and also, like,
I would love for this to be real.
the like lead Tokyo development office is working on something.
Mhm.
They can't not be working on something. This is the like Mario Odyssey team that we're talking about. They have to be doing something, and if it's not this Donkey Kong game, I want to know what it is, and I can be excited about that. Because it's been what 4 years since Odyssey.
Yeah, 2017. I mean, to that point, do you think there is the Mario movie being
Yeah,
released later
yeah.
this year? Do you think that a Mario game will be teed up?
Jeez, like a new Mario game.
Yeah, 2D. It could be like
Right.
in the vein of New Super Mario Brothers. It's been like you said. It's been. We had
3D 3D World.
3D World and Bowser's Fury,
Mhm.
and the year before that we had New
The
Super
year
Mario
of
Brothers.
Mario.
We had New Super Mario Brothers U,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe that was 2 years. I can't remember. But anyways, like it's been a while since we've had a new
Right,
like full game that wasn't Bowser's Fury.
right, or Mario Maker.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know.
Something
Yep.
there's something there. I personally think it's going to be Donkey Kong. I think they have done as much Mario Celebration as they can possibly like do. And there'll always be another Mario game coming out at some point, featuring the
But
characters.
we will, I think, without fail, get some sort of Mario game
Yeah, that's
this
probably
year.
right.
Something, whether it's, I don't think it'll be another Mario Party. but,
Baseball or
like-
soccer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, Strikers 3. I'm into it.
All right. Fire Emblem game, Xenoblade game. Those will come out when they come out. I don't know. We don't really have anything to say about them, I don't think.
Yeah.
The HD 3D Zelda games. So specifically here we are referring to Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, both of which were released on the Wii U. I don't know. I think frustratingly we're not going to see them on Switch.
I think you're right. I think the time for it has kind of
Passed, yeah. Especially if the Breath of the Wild sequel comes out this year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Then it's just like nail in the coffin. If it gets pushed to 2023 and they tell us that, then I can see them putting out one of the HD remakes.
But it feels weird to just
Yeah.
like do one of them, but it also doesn't make sense for them to combine it into a single package.
No, not at all.
So, but I think you're right, because the way that I'm kind of viewing 2022 is that this is the Switch's last big like Nintendo release year, and that 2020, like we talked about on Tuesday, 2023 is in my head where I'm kind of expecting the Switch successor to be released. And so I feel like 2022 is it. Or not like it, but I feel like this is when we are getting those Switch heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And after that, Nintendo is going to move its focus to whatever comes next. So I think we will still get, it would not surprise me if in 2022, we saw a new Fire Emblem game then, when like that sort of thing, like at the tail end of the Switch life cycle. But I personally feel like if there's no new 3D Mario game this year, like on Odyssey scale, that's coming on the new Switch.
Yeah, and I mean there are so many of these, but I mean, all of the rules I feel like are going to get thrown out the window. But there are so many things where it's like one big Zelda game comes out, one Mario Kart comes out, one big 3D Mario comes out, like per generation, right? Like these are sort of they're not rules, but they're just sort of things that have been observed.
Yeah, do you remember when Galaxy 2 was announced and just being like so shocked
Yes,
that we are getting like
yes.
a sequel on the Wii, or that we were getting a second 3D Mario game on the Wii?
Yeah.
The fact that it was a direct sequel was just like mind bending.
Right. Well, and this is like the other thing about Nintendo is that like whatever rule or pattern you think you've observed, like forget about it because they'll do whatever they want. But I think the circumstances of just like the success of the Switch, the fact that I know we said we were going to stop talking about like supply constraints, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be easy to launch new hardware in the coming years, and the fact that there's no designated handheld system that's running alongside the Switch, which is its own handheld system. It just feels like there's less precedent to pull from.
Such a good point. Yeah.
We're going into unprecedented times, Mark.
Anything could happen, truly. Final like button on that thought.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
If it does not come out this year, do you think that it is released on Switch at all? Or do you think that is like a cross-generation game? Or do you not think that, because I was saying my mindset is that 2023, we're seeing new hardware.
I don't think that happens till 2025.
Whoa.
I know. I think we are going to wait a long time for there to be a new Nintendo main hardware.
That would be wild.
I think that's part of the world that we're in, though. And I think like, I don't know, but I keep thinking about like what the chip shortages actually means for what's possible in development now, right? And there are so many ways that Nintendo could improve the experience of playing on its existing hardware just by working on like the back end, right? To shore up their sort of like network experience, to make their back catalog available. That there are so many like they're obviously not just switches that they could flip, but like things that they could work on that aren't the same as having to create a whole new line of hardware to put out and substantively change the experience of like their main player base.
I don't think it's enough. I don't think you could maintain the momentum of the Switch by like improving those sorts of aspects of the system.
I think you are right, but I also don't know that you can like make 100 million Switch 2s.
You don't
at the moment.
You don't. But
yeah.
So I do think the future is very, very interesting.
All right, Mark, that's us going through 2022. Let's close this out. And we've got all year to discover how wrong we've been. But tell us what you think about how Nintendo's 2022 calendar looks to you so far. You can email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com or tweet at us or whatever. We want to know what you're thinking. Are you excited? Will we see any Metroid games this year? I don't know. I don't know, Mark. I think probably not. Bums me out. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. If you like this episode, you should share it on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you share stuff. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers apologizing for the bad news about Metroid Prime. It's not really news. Thank you for listening.
Have you ever encountered an unexplained hairy bipedal hominid in the woods?
Have you received telepathic messages from an unidentified aerial phenomenon?
If so, then you need to listen to Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm Michael McMillan.
And I'm Bryce Johnson.
And together with super producer
Riley Bray,
we make up the Bigfoot Collectors Club.
That's right. Every week we talk to actors, comedians, writers, and paranormal experts about their personal paranormal histories and share stories of high strangeness.
Like the time when we talked to Craig Ferguson about the Loch Ness Monster and when a sea witch told him he had raven magic.
Or the time I asked Pitch Perfect's Anna Camp her opinion on cattle mutilations. Past guests have included Rachel Bloom, Jen Kirkman, Paul F. Tompkins, Bobcat Goldthwait, and more.
So if you've ever been abducted alongside 5 reindeer by an alien with drills for hands or witnessed Bigfoot crawl out of an interdimensional portal,
Don't laugh, happens all the time.
then check out Bigfoot Collectors Club on Campfire Media or wherever you get your podcasts.
Bigfoot Collectors Club. You're here to believe us.
wait, is that how it goes?
Campfire.